Hello. I decided to do something different than what I typically do. Once in a while, I like to do so you want to know video. Usually I'm covering comic book terms, or I'm discussing how to do something comic related. For example, I mentioned what are variant comics, what are sketch covers, and basically all kinds of terms like that I've used in my videos. This video I decided to do something a little bit different. Show you some examples of sketches, the different types, different terminology, how you could go about getting a commission, and just basically what you kind of need to get a commission. So let's start off first with what you need to get a commission or a sketch. There's a variety of mediums you can use to get your sketch or get a commission on. I like to use sketch covers. I get them in for a variety of different characters: Wonder Woman, Doctor Who, SDCC, Batman. This one has a signature on it. I will get to that later. I'll address just these for now. So usually you can order these. They have the regular cover underneath. Their paper typically has a special type of paper that is used for sketching and drawing on. It helps absorb the inks a little bit more. If there's paint, it absorbs that a little bit. It's basically the type of paper you'd find in a classical sketchbook. These are really good, especially if you just want a custom cover. Okay. Another thing you could use, which is becoming a little bit more common, and if you want to keep a collection for yourself, is a sketchbook. Now, I got this particular one at Michael's. I believe they were $5 each, and I made sure that it was a good quality. When you get a sketchbook, you want to make sure to check for a few different things. You want to make sure, one, that it's portable. Look for its size, depending on how big you want your sketches. Some people carry the huge ones that, that basically you can do like a full-size figure on, like that are a few feet big. I like to keep something, about this size. A little bit bigger than the average comic book. Now, some people like to get the small ones. They're a little more portable, but this, I also get it because it has a hardcover. Other people like to get the spiral bound because it makes it easier to flip through, and if they want, they could tear out a page, frame it, do whatever. Mine, I would have to cut it because these aren't perforated pages. They are not pre-cut. Another thing people are getting sketches on, which is becoming a little less common, are sketch cards. Now, these are really tiny. They're 2.5 by 3.5 inches. So you can see, they're really good if you want to get really small sketches. Usually some artists will charge like maybe $4 or $5 to get them. They're the size of a typical trading card. The whole point is artists used to sketch on these, trade with another artist, and just trade their work around. It made it very easy to collect art, especially if you're on a budget. And it looks really good if you have one of those little albums with the 9 pages where you can put in baseball cards. You can have a whole page of different artists' work. So there are a few different ways you could commission. A lot of times artists will list what materials they'll use. The most basic is oftentimes they'll do it in just pencil. Then the next up is that they'll do pencils with inks. After that, they will use, some of them will do Copic markers, which I will get into that later. And others will do color, using either markers or paint. It just depends on each artist. Now I'm going to show you an example of different types of commissions you could get. Now these can range from different things, from a headshot, which I will give an example of, a bust, full body, 2 figures, color, background, and so on. So let's begin. My first example is one I got at San Diego Comic-Con back in 2016. This is an example of a headshot. Now as you notice, it's only from the neck up. And if you look, there's quite a bit of detail. So that is one good thing about a headshot, is that you can get a very good, detailed look at the character, though you don't get much else. If the character is not that recognizable, then a headshot's not going to work very well. Like if you got a headshot of Batman, the ears, the cowl, very easy to tell it's Batman. Wonder Woman, so on. Some other characters, it's not going to work quite as well. Like Captain Marvel, for example. If you don't get any of the costume or you don't get her mask, it's kind of hard to tell who she is. Just blonde character, Next up, I have an example of a bust. Now this I got from the very talented Jeffrey Edwards. You may have seen this in the background of my videos, and I have quite a few of his work. Now the bust is usually from the chest up. Some include a little bit down to the pelvis right here, but nearly full body. You could argue that perhaps it's like half body, but this is what he listed as bust. Now bust usually costs a little bit more, obviously, since there's more body. And sometimes there's more detail. You see here, you can see the folds of the costume. One thing I've always liked about Jeffrey Edwards is his ink work. He always gives more than you pay. Way more value. Now for this, I'm trying to remember how much I paid for it. If I recall, it was, I want to say about $80. And real quick, before I forget, this I believe was about $60, $70. It's been a while since I got it, so, and since then his name's gone up. And Jeffrey Edwards also, he just recently released a variant cover to a Transformer comic that's in a limited run. I think only 1,000 copies, so he might start to go up in in demand. Example of a full body, but however, this is not your typical full body. This is an example of a quick sketch. This artist charged a lower rate for a timed sketch. He only spends 5 minutes on it. He would sketch for a little bit, start the clock, stop it whenever he'd have to look up reference material. And by the way, reference material is when you want to know what a character looks like and you kind of want to know what their costume looks like, or you want to pose. So you might have a magazine with someone like this, so you want to be able to draw Batman posing like this, so on. So anyways, this is a full body quick sketch by Chris Burnham. Now from farther away you can see it looks better, but close you can see he really did do this quickly. You can see the lines, how rough it is. Now I could probably pay another artist a little bit of money to, touch it up, and that would make it look a little sharper, but I like the fact that he signed it right here. 5 minutes. Pretty good. He doesn't normally draw Spider-Man, and not only that, it was Superior Spider-Man. The costume was a little different, so it kind of threw him off. He's typically known for drawing Batman. So, example of what it is to get multiple figures. Now this is the Fearless Defenders, done by Arnell. I can never pronounce his last name. He's better known as NinjaBot. I got this done at San Diego Comic-Con the same time as I got that Art Thibert Archie. Now these are 2 full-body figures. Now I believe this cost $120 because it was not just one full-body figure, but an additional one. So he's not a huge name, so that's one reason I got it for a pretty good price. Someday I might get this touched up in color. Quite a story behind it. This is a full color, full body with some background. This is a Batman I got by, if I remember correctly, yes, Alex Sinclair. And it extends to the back. Now the story behind this is originally I went to the artist and I made sure to leave this note. Remember? I had paid for a color bust. I told him to choose either Batman or Superman, his choice. He made the mistake of doing a full body, back and front in color. And since it was his mistake, he only charged me what the bust would be. Now, normally I think he was up in the closer to 200 for a full body color wraparound like he just gave me. I only paid something about $60. So that was pretty good. Cover that I have. This one is front and back, full color, like every square inch. This is an up-and-coming artist that I've collected a few times. Probably one of my first sketches I got in the top 3 or 4 that I first got. This is by Eric Arriaga, which you can't quite see from here what it is. It's Swamp Thing, but that's because the character is primarily on the back. I apologize for that light. It's doing too much glare. There we go. Now if you look at all that detail there. I chose this artist because he is very good at doing kind of a wild look. I always figured he'd be good doing vines. Not the app Vine, but vines, as you can see, he made up a Swamp Thing. And he's also really good at doing characters like Venom. Any characters that kind of have a unstable look to them and their bodies look chaotic and almost otherworldly. He's really good for that. He, I believe, was, I want to say $140, maybe $150. And in case you don't think there's a backboard in this, there actually is a backboard. I have a special clear backboard which you can get at some conventions. They're usually cost a little bit more, 2 to 3 times the amount of regular backboards, but they're plastic and they're clear. They'll protect your comics, and they're really good for these comics that are drawn on front and back. So you want to still see the back, but have that support. You're gonna have quite a bit of his work. Another thing you can get for commissions or sketches is you can get what's called a jam piece. Now, a jam piece is where multiple artists work on one piece. They could each do individual characters. One of them could do the background, some do the characters, or just, whatever. It's basically artists working together, Just like a jam session with music is multiple artists just, messing around, singing, playing music together. Same thing. Now, Jeffrey Edwards, I approached him to doing a commission of Venom. And I had an idea, and he came up with one I liked a lot more. So I had him do the layout. Now, the layout is when you develop the grid for where they're going to put each individual character. It could be different things. Some people like to do homage covers to Days of Future Past with the wanted posters of the X-Men, and they may do Avengers characters instead. Now, he suggested this. Now, you can't see as well. He thought it'd be a good idea to the spider from the Venom symbiote, joining them all together. He did the layout. As you can see, he sketched out Eddie Brock and Flash Thompson. This is the character he did, Mac Gargan. And I believe he only charged me $30 for the character, and you can see how much detail he did, and for laying it out, which is pretty good. That helps out the other artists. Lack Leem charged me $20 just for that, for Peter Parker as Venom. Now, when this is done, I hope to complete at Wondercon in a few weeks. I will have Eddie Brock, who's also had the Venom symbiote. As you notice the theme here, and I'm going in order. Peter Parker, Eddie Brock, Mac Gargan, most of you know as a Scorpion, and Flash Thompson. But I want him as Agent Venom, not Space Knight. You can see the difference. Now, I'm hoping to get Todd Knock to do Eddie Brock, and this other person, I can never pronounce his name, but he's a prominent Transformers artist, to do Flash Thompson. I've seen what he's done with Darth Vader, and Darth Vader has this bulky look, helmeted look, which I think translates very well to this. So, we'll see. Another thing which some people may or may not argue constitute a sketch is if you're getting a comic sign, an artist may do a quick little drawing. It's called a remark. Now, we'll show you an example right here. Most artists offer that for free. Some artists will only charge, maybe $5, $10. It depends on the artist and the detail. Now, if you're going to someone like Rob Liefeld, the creator of Deadpool, and you're getting your comic signed by him, he usually charges quite a bit of money just for the signature, and he charges upwards of, I believe, $50 just to draw a little circle with the eyes, a little balloon. This by Struble, he's signed so many things I have. He did that for free, and he added this in. If some of you know me, you know I'm a fan of The Clash. He asked me what was my favorite band, and he put The Clash, the only band that matters. So, sometimes you just have to be nice to an artist. Going through my sketchbook. Now, most people have a theme for their sketchbook. Mine does as well, but my theme is a little different. The theme I have in my sketchbook is that basically it's artist choice, so I let every artist choose what they're going to put in here, unless they ask me, would you rather have A or B? That is the only time where I have an input. Now, it's also my book where it's all cheap stuff, where I didn't pay very much or it was free. So I will look for a free sketch in here. Now this, not a lot of detail, but as you can see, Full Body by Cena Grace. You may recognize that character from the comic I just showed you, Little Depressed Boy. That remark previously, that was by the writer. This is for the artist, for the same comic. I've known him for a few years. I bought some of his artwork off Instagram. He's recognized me at a convention, so every time he always draws a character for me and he asks me what I want. Now here's another example from Faith Erin Hicks. She was doing a signing at WonderCon last year, and she just asked if I wanted free signature or free drawing, so got one. And I will show you some other examples. This is a quick one done by the artist on a comic book for Sonic the Hedgehog. Now this one only cost me $5, and this was at the Fresno Anime Comic Book Convention. As you can see, look at the page, it's very small, but it's only $5, and look at that detail. Super sweet lady. I should have bought another one. This is by Steve Lieber. Now this one I believe was free because I bought something at his table. I bought a $10 graphic novel from him, so he gave me a free sketch of a beagle. This, I believe, was only $10, you know. Not bad. He did some light coloring. So, now that I've defined a few things like what a headshot is, what a bust is, full body, color, black and white, showing you some examples of Copic, and some pencils, now I'm going to tell you how to set up a commission. This is important. There are many different reasons. Say you love a comic artist, you love their art, and you want to be able to support them. The comic book industry does not make a lot of money. Even though Marvel films are doing well, the Marvel comics, people just don't buy comic books. There aren't any comic book stores near me, at least for like a good 40 miles from here. And as large as comic conventions get, you know, not everyone goes to them. Not everyone buys things. Not everyone buys comics. Most people like to cosplay. They buy anime stuff, video games. So, that's why. You want to support artists. You want to help them keep creating the things we love. You know, just support them. So, let me tell you what you need to do to do that. First, you need to figure out how you're going to get their art. Is it going to be on a sketch card like I talked to you about? Is it going to be in a sketchbook, or is it going to be a sketch cover? Because this does make a difference. Some artists will not sketch on a sketch cover because they are afraid that people will resell it. And to them, that's kind of messing with their business. If they charge $60 to do this on a sketch cover, and then someone sells on eBay for $100, well, they just realized they could have made $40 more. So that's a lot of times why they won't do sketch covers. Some artists will do a sketch cover if they personalize it and they show, you know, it's not going to be sold. This is why artist/writer Amanda Connor does not do sketch covers or sketches anymore. Because too often when she does, it winds up on eBay for hundreds of dollars more. After you figured out what you're going to get it sketched on, you got to figure out what artists. Now there are different ways. If you're at a comic convention, most of them have what's something called Artist Alley. The major comic conventions like LA Comic Con, San Diego Comic Con, Long Beach Comic Con, Wondercon, they all have a section called Artist Alley. Now the smaller conventions, like your local city ones, they won't, but there will be artists there. Probably kept to a smaller section or spread out here and there. Now, if you found Artist Alley, you could go up, walk to an artist, you can ask them about commissions. A lot of them will have a sign posted up, and most of them you could just walk up and mention that you're interested in getting a commission, and they will just freely talk to you. They'll have a sign with their rates, with a price for pencils, for ink, for Copic, headshot, full color, and so on. Some of them are willing to work with you on different things. If you go up to them and you're polite and you ask them nicely, say, hey, I notice your cheapest thing is $60. I only have $30. Can you give me just a quick head sketch or just a quick little figure? And some of them will work with you on that. It just depends on the artist. The main thing is your approach. Being polite and being kind to them, not being pushy, will go a long way in getting what you want. And sometimes they will have a pre-show commission list where what you can do is you can contact them by email, sometimes Twitter, their Instagram, whatever means they have. Some of them are represented on a different website. You contact them and you just have to tell them, hey, I'm going to be attending this show. I would like this character in this format, and whatever rules or, you know, whatever they do. Usually it's a little cheaper that way, and it's a little better because it gives them more time to work on it. They'll work on it from the time you tell them until the con, and then you can pick it up and it'll already be done. A lot of the ones you saw there, I walked up, gave them my cover, they worked on it the next day, brought it back, or they worked on it in the show and they told me to come back in an hour, 2 hours, and I'd go by and they're just there drawing, sketching, occasionally signing some comics, go back to work, and then text me, hey, you know, your drawing's done. All right, cool. And I pick it up. Pre-show, the pre-show commission list, that allows them, you know, depending on when you get on that list and when they open it, that allows plenty of time for them to work on it. And also ensures that you're going to get your piece. Because sometimes you may go up to go to an artist and they say, I'm sorry, my list is full. I've already taken on enough work. I'm not going to do any more sketches. Otherwise, I won't get them done. And doing the pre-show, you're already on that list. A lot of those figures you saw that were full body, 2 figures, that full color Swamp Thing, That was a pre-show. The Archie, pre-show. The Fearless Defenders, pre-show. So you can see, my big pieces I usually get paid for ahead of time and pick up when I'm there. For example, I mentioned Todd Knock earlier. His commission list works a little differently. Because he's in such high demand, each day before a con, for example, I'm going to Wondercon on a Friday, Saturday, and a Sunday. So before the Friday, he is going to release a secret password on his website, I believe at 8 p.m. Thursday. So for the show Friday, he'll release the list Thursday. For the show Saturday, the list Friday, and so on and so on. Now you get that password and you have to email to him at, I believe, 8 o'clock. There's a certain time that he opens it up and the password will be there, and it becomes first come, first serve, and you list what you want and 3 alternatives and what medium, and he'll reply back saying, all right, I can do this, I accept, I will do this, and then you pay, or you pay at the show. Easy. You know, most artists, you can just go up to them or you do the list ahead of time, but some of them have special things like that. Now another artist who does something very creative is Scotty Young. You may not know who he is. He's done a lot of variant covers. He works on the series I Hate Fairyland. And what he does is, because of his work is in such high demand, and there's always an incredibly long line to go see his work and to get stuff signed by him, what you do is you get a pair of dice. They're regular 6-sided dice, and you roll them. You get doubles, you get a sketch by him. But you're still paying for it. You're just winning the chance to get a sketch. Because if everyone went up, his list would fill up so quickly. So you roll 2 1s, or 2 2s, 2 3s, 2 4s, 2 5s, 2 6s, whatever. You get a match, you're like, all right, he asks you, what do you want? And you tell him, I would like Iceman doing this, you know, can you do full color, do this? He's like, all right, and he does it. So those are 2 examples of 2 artists that do their commission lists a little bit differently, and I already told you about what you can get at, you know, different range from like headshot, you know, bust, full body, color, black and white. Now I'm going to talk about how to. Now it does matter on how you get your art. If you get it done in your sketchbook, chances are you're going to keep it in the sketchbook. And if you're getting anything painted or any inked in there, let it dry first. I hear my neighbors. Or the mailman. Let it dry first before you close it. Now if you notice, when I pulled out the remark earlier, the signature is a little smudge. That's because I didn't let it dry when I put it back in the bag. Now a quick trick is when you get anything signed or you get a sketch that's using just ink, just blow on it a bit. Or just fan it, just wait a little bit, and it'll dry pretty quickly. The paper's pretty absorbent. What you just want is the excess to be gone, so it does not get on the next page and then ruin the chances for another artist to use that page, or if there's already art there, that it seeps through and ruins another piece of art. Now, say you do get in the sketchbook and you want to take it out, or it's one of the loose leaf where you just rip the page out, or you just take a piece of paper, get it framed. But if you get it framed, make sure it's away from a window, or it's UV resistant glass. Otherwise the sun's going to fade that drawing like crazy. I don't have that problem because all my art is in a room that's blocking out the sun, and they're away from the sun. The ones that's away from the sun, my sketch covers, they're protected. There's some curtains that are blocking out the sun. Over here I have some actual loose leaf paper with art on them and some backing boards. I'll get to that in a bit. They are framed up here. Now, some people and some artists, they use backing boards. Those are the little pieces of cardboard that go in the back of the comic. Some artists will do that for convenience sake. They'll ask you, hey, you know, you seem like a cool guy, you're nice to me, you brought, you know, all these comics for me to sign, you support me, I could give you a quick little sketch, do you have any paper? And usually, they use a backing board. Now, Cena Grace, the one I talked about earlier, he gave me one of my first sketches on a backing board. I have 2 pieces of his art right on my wall over there. So we know about framing, and we know that anything we get in a sketch cover, we could put in a backing board also. And I told you about the clear backing boards for those ones that are full color. You can get those framed, and they do have special frames for comic books that are a little bit thicker. So you might want to look up some products by BCW. I've reviewed one of their products before, and as I get to that, I'll put the link down below. BCW. One of the things they did, they made a comic album which looks like a traditional card album, and it has blank pages empty pages where you can put in a full comic. Now I use that for my sketch covers because obviously I'm not going to open those and I'm not going to look through the comic and read it, and these are mainly to show off the artwork. So this works perfectly as a binder that holds these comics, and I can flip through them and it protects them. So bag and board them. You can display them on a shelf. There's other systems too, or you just put them in a binder. Now there's also one other method which some of you may not have noticed. In the back of a lot of my videos you know sketch covers on the wall. Now those are stored in these things I also got by BCW, where these are these little plastic pages which they interlock together, and you can wall mount it or you can put them in a binder. I chose to put them on the wall. Now I use it because it's very cheap. It costs like $15 for, I have to look over real quick, for 12 pages. So not bad. It's roughly $2 a page, and they give you more than enough little grommets to snap them together. I think I have 50 more of those. So now that you've learned everything about how to get a commission, how to get sketches, I want a lot of you to go out there, find some artists you like, and support their work. Artists, there's a reason they come up with that saying, a starving artist. They really don't make a lot of money. So, thank you. If you like this video and you want some more how-tos to do things in the comic industry, just let me know. So like, share, subscribe. Thank you.